So welcome everybody who is here today. I am very joyful and happy to start off Monday with such an amazing guest, which was definitely in the making for a few months because we are very busy people that have a lot of things going on. And so it's just a joy to be here today. So for those that don't know me, I'm Dr. Diana Londoño. I'm a urologist in Los Angeles, and I am founder of physiciancoachsupport.com, which is the platform that organizes these monthly meetings with amazing leaders in the field, physicians that are doing different things that the purpose that we bring them is to help us as physicians find ways, tools, activities that can help us, either if we're in burnout or to prevent or to get out of burnout. So, I'm excited because not only is this a great tool we're going to talk about, my guest company, Wellprept, but he's also a urologist. So it's always fun to bring another urologist and get their perspective and see all the amazing things that other colleagues are doing that are really, really inspiring. So again, thank you for being here. And I want to, welcome you, Dave, and thank you I know you're busy and we'll talk about that because you have 5 kids. So that's definitely, you're an efficiency master just on its own regard with that. So thank you for being here and spending time with us.
Thanks for having me, Diana.
So, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit of like who you are, where are you in the world? And, again, about your family, I think is so important because, I have 2 children, 7 and 5. And, that definitely, probably increased my blood pressure to have 2. So 5, I could not imagine. So you have to be efficient. You have to be relaxed. You have to have probably a different personality than just having 1 or 2. So please share with us, who are you? Where are you? And, a little bit about your family.
By the way, we're doing it by the seat of our pants, Diana. It's not that we have any special patience or skills than anybody else. But
What you do? You're just helpful.
We have patience because we have.
Oh, hold on. I am muted. Hold on. I muted you by mistake. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
All right. So I was born in South Africa.
Oh my God.
I was actually an only child, which makes it even more interesting that I ended up with 5 kids. But we moved to Canada when I was very little, and then most of my life I grew up in New York, and then I stayed in New England for most of my life. I'm outside Boston right now. I'm a urologist at Leahy Hospital and Medical Center, and as you said, I have a wife and 5 boys.
Oh, 5 boys.
Right now, 5 boys. They're between the ages of 5 and 14 right now. So we have a very, very full, busy life. When I was growing up as an only child, I would never have dreamed that houses like this with this much chaos actually exist. But it's beautiful chaos. So we love it.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I mean, that takes courage and bravery and definitely a lot of skills, to go from one, as an only child to so many kids and so much joy and so much, different personalities to learn. So, I really, like I said, I want to talk about, this company that you started. You are still full-time, correct? You're full-time urologist?
I'm still full-time. Yep.
Amazing. So full-time urologist, how do you then get to what Wellprept is? And, I'm sort of curious, we'll explain what it is, but did this come out of, a frustration that was going on, a need, both, an idea that somebody suggested? How did Wellprept, come to life, really?
Yeah, so I'll tell you how it came to life. Let me just briefly, for listeners who don't know what it is, I'll just tell you what Wellprept is. So Wellprept is a simple app, and it makes clinic less tedious by letting doctors share basic information with their patients before they arrive. And this way, the idea is that doctors can put all their best energy into the better parts of being a doctor. The one, we can talk about that later, but I think it's the one-on-one interactions that seduced us in the first place in wanting to do this job. So that's what it is. It's trying to let doctors stop repeating themselves over and over and over again. So if we rewind back before this existed, I was not thinking about starting a company or anything like that. I was personally burnt out. This is around 2015, 2016. And I was about 8 years in post-fellowship. I do a lot of minimally invasive oncology, and I was in a really bad spot. And I remember this one particular day, I was with a 68-year-old engineer who's a patient just diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I was explaining the whole thing to him. And I entered into my explanation of what the Gleason score is, pathologic grading of prostate cancer. And it's sort of like, when you're applying to medical school and someone says, why do you want to become a urologist? And you've said that thing a million times. This was starting to become similar. What is prostate cancer? And I launched into this spiel that I'd given hundreds, if not thousands of times at that point. And I didn't remember getting to the end. I had this experience of being apart from myself. And it felt terrible,
Mhm.
That is not the kind of doctor or person that I imagined that I would be, sitting there in the exam room and kind of zoned out, distance from what I was saying. And I got to the end, and I like making personal connections with patients, like most of us do, talking about their job, talking about their family. And I wasn't feeling that. So I got out of that, and I thought there must be a better way, not to start a company, but just to help me with my own job. And so I told my secretary to email the NCCN patient guide for prostate cancer to patients who were being referred for a second opinion. And if they'd just been diagnosed, I called them on the phone to give them the news, and I gave them this thing to read in advance. And the visits were so much better. And not everybody read it. And I'm not saying, this is for every single patient, but there was something about getting information beforehand that made the clinic visit a lot easier. So I took it a step further, and I recorded myself on YouTube explaining robotic prostatectomy. And at that point, I thought, this could totally backfire. Like, our patient's gonna be super pissed off that I've pawned them off on this video. Like, are they gonna think, what's with this guy? Like, he doesn't want to talk to me. And nobody had that reaction. I mean, sending information to patients before they show up is not about not talking to patients. It's actually the opposite. It's about being able to be fully present with this other human being who's sitting in front of you, and having a more detailed, more meaningful conversation. So this was working for me. And, right around this time, I don't know if you're probably familiar with Linktree.
Yes, so you can put all your sites and information into one place, correct?
Exactly. So if you have an Instagram profile or social media, they only let you have one link. So it lets you have a page of links. These types of sites started emerging. And at that point, I thought, boy, that'd be a nice way for me to organize my educational information. And I started doing that, and patients were very appreciative. They were commenting like, oh, you've organized this all for me. This is so great. I've never seen a doctor do that before. And at that point, I thought, this is helping me so much. I should see if I'm like the only one. And I asked a few urology friends of mine if they would try this out in their practices, and they loved it. In fact, a couple of them printed out the QR code of their prototype page that I made them, and they put it on their business card.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, it was sort of like, if there was a light bulb moment, it was when friends of mine that I asked to try out this system, because that's really what it is. It's a system of being able to organize information to be able to easily share with patients. When I realized it wasn't just me, then it started to feel like a mission, like, all right, there's something here. I'd like to see if I can turn this into a software product that can help other doctors, because, we're riding this wave of discontent that is actually quite unfortunate with burnout we can get into it to the degree that you want, but it's going to take a lot of different solutions from different angles. And so this is one piece of it. And I think it's a piece that people don't talk about enough. Like, there's a way that we can use patient educational information to the benefit of our patients and to our own benefit at the same time, because you're asking your patients to help you prepare for clinic. So it's sort of a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you really 100%. Because, I don't think it's about not wanting to talk to the patient. I think that's a great point. And I don't think it's about trying to be more efficient in a system that is abusing us and we're trying to get it all in. It really is about using that time effectively to get to the sort of still a fun part of medicine. I mean, the surgery and the diagnosing is also fun, but that social human connection is so important. And it really helps you to understand, if you dive into the social and what their husband is going through, or their kids or their pets, how can that affect your care that you're recommending? Because if their husband is sick and they're taking care of it, or their car broke down, then, they may not be able to go have that surgery or pick up the medication because of all these social factors. So it's really important to incorporate that. And if you're just so busy trying to explain everything in such a short amount of time, but even if you are concierge or, direct primary or specialty care, you still may want to spend other time doing, other types of talks. And that conversation can be a better conversation because everybody's on the same page a little more of what the condition's about. And so I think it helps both parties, like you say. And also it's so helpful when because, we're all patients. And when you leave the doctor and they tell you have X, Y, and Z, you start Googling where to find stuff. Or if you're a doctor, I'm like, well, who do I know that is orthopedics and can tell me what I have? And can you tell me what should I do? But if you don't have those connections, I mean, where do you go? And patients do ask me, well, what should I read, or where can I get more info? That, then you're like trying to figure out what's the best source, yourself and the patient.
Right.
So
Right.
having a curated place that's organized, that has, valid, trusted voices in medicine, because some of it is written and some of it is video. We'll talk about it, but different ways also to learn or to absorb the information. Some people like videos, some people like writing or reading. So it just helps everybody. And the other part that I think is really important is that when patients come to the physician, many times you're scared or you're worried, and you can't absorb what's said to you when you are in those states. And so even if you spend the 45 minutes, you will listen to about 30 seconds. Maybe it's just a diagnosis. You have cancer, that was it, and it went blank. So the fact you could do it at your own time later, or even beforehand, it just helps to sort of process the information and maybe get to some points or questions that otherwise wouldn't have been brought up because you already come prepared. So I think there are so many benefits. And, I also ran into the same thing that, I don't want to sort of keep saying the same thing sometimes. And I said, I still explain it, but say, hey, here's a video. Cause I also have, my little YouTube channel, much smaller, but here's my video, watch it later. And it's in English or Spanish, for a lot of populations, there's not a lot of Spanish. I'm like, it's in Spanish. That way you can listen to it and you decide what you want to do, if it's a treatment, or also just understand the procedure a little bit better with my voice so that they feel more comfortable. But again, some physicians may not want to do that. Like you did your own YouTube channel. They don't have the time, the interest, or camera shy. They don't want to do that. So the fact that this is a resource, I just think is invaluable. I really appreciate the fact that you have created this.
Thank you, Dana. I just want to double click on one thing you said there. It's true. There's some doctors who are going to feel comfortable recording a video and putting it on their Wellprept page. There's other doctors who don't feel comfortable doing it. There's a third kind of doctor who doesn't yet know they're comfortable, and now given the opportunity to share it, surprises themselves and actually starts recording videos. Why? Because there's an actual delivery mechanism to go right to their patients. So some people are going to surprise themselves. I've seen that happen already.
I love that. So I mean, today, actually, before this, earlier today, I kind of got onboarded because if I hadn't done it. And what that means is You go to wellprept.com, the page, you go to sign up or sign in, and you sign up and you create a profile. And how it is, and maybe share with us, is this, first of all, for any specialist, for any physician? Who is this for? Is it just urology right now, or where are you in terms of who can use this?
Right. So what we decided was a lot of people are going to be scared off by a blank slate. So we curated a whole bunch of content, you could call it our library, so that when you sign up, you just pick the conditions that you treat, and a whole bunch of suggested content shows up on your page, a mixture of articles, websites, podcasts, frequently asked questions, etc. You can use that or delete some stuff and add your own, but you're not starting from scratch. So as of right now, we are fully ready to go in urology and OBGYN. We have the seed content all done. Other specialties, if you have your own stuff, you can start from scratch. And we're adding more and more specialties as time goes on. So we're fully matured in urology and OBGYN.
Got it. So, if you're, and it's going to grow, so be patient. It's going to come to you if you are, a dermatologist or any other specialist. I mean, this is such a large, volume and library of content. So it's going to come. But, if you sign up and say you are at this point a urologist or gynecologist, again, you make your profile, you put your conditions. I just chose the ones that I treat. So it was prostate cancer, vasectomy, whatever it was. And then, yes, then you have, when you click on it, a whole list of things already there. Again, podcasts, like I said, YouTube videos, everything. And then you can add your own if you have your own, or you could delete the ones you don't like, perhaps. And you can, adjust it how you like. And then what happens is you give the patient either a QR code or the link to this site, and then they can just watch or read all this information, again, before the appointment, after the appointment. And I know you are developing more to, within the site, be able to send that information directly to patients.
Yep, exactly.
Otherwise, you can use Doximity, free app now to send secure text messages as well. So, that's really how it works. And it's just so easy. It literally took me a few minutes while I was on the phone with you to do this. It didn't take any time. It was all there, and it made it so easy, honestly. So, if you are one of the specialties at this point in time, I really strongly encourage you to look into it, because it is a time saver for sure.
And if your specialty is not urology or OBGYN, you can still sign on, and it'll ask you, do you want to go in and start from scratch, or do you want us to contact you when we have your specialty available? You'll go on a wait list, so you'll be the first to know as soon as we have our library ready. The other thing is, Wellprept is always going to be free for trainees. So if you're a resident or a fellow, you can use Wellprept free of charge. I think training is a perfect time to start a collection of your favorite educational resources, so that when you start practicing, you hit the ground running. And I'm really trying, what makes me so fired up about this is, everyone knows when you start practicing, you need to organize your electronic health record, dot phrases and templates. I want this to be on people's consciousness, like, oh yeah, and I need to organize my patient education materials, because again, it serves double duty. It's going to be, you're helping yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And so wonderful that you are doing that for trainees to not charge them. And even the charge, I mean, the value in it is so easy. And then you don't have to curate things yourself. You don't have to look for things or Google things. And again, it makes that interaction so much easier. And patients really appreciate it. They really appreciate when you give them information that they can watch whenever they like or read. And again, that conversation when you're with a patient, it's just much faster, not in a bad way, but just, again, concentrate on the other fun stuff, or talk about the kids, or don't talk about the kids, or talk about the sports games, whatever it is. But just, I think it brings back a little bit of the human component to medicine, and takes away some of that transactional component to it as well.
You're totally right. I just want to share an anecdote from yesterday, because it's fresh in my mind. A Wellprept user emailed me And I have to say, like, it's been one of the most amazing experiences, just getting emails from users telling me how their clinics are different. This was a urologist who treats prostate cancer. And on their Wellprept prostate cancer page, they have a bunch of videos, and some of them are from other Wellprept users. Anyway, there's a lot of content there. And this was a patient who needed surgery and had reviewed all the materials before the visit. And it opened up all this space for whatever was going to happen next. And what happened next was a very important human interaction. The user told me that this patient confided that his wife had passed away only a few months ago from metastatic breast cancer. Okay. And really opened up space for a non-rushed, really important sharing of his whole experience with his wife's recent passage. And the doctor told me that it really seemed like the patient wanted to talk about this and needed to process the information. It was fairly recent. And they really connected on a deep level. They spent almost none of the visit talking about prostate cancer, and it didn't matter. That bond that they formed was important, given that the surgeon is about to operate on this person. And you know, the depth of the connection that they were able to make was in part possible because of all the space that's created by not having to shoehorn all the things that we normally are forced to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me think about sort of exactly, you know, what you said, that of course patients make, even if you have the time or not, they may come for this diagnosis or this symptom or this problem, but they actually may need a different type of healing or processing, which is to deal with something that they probably haven't talked to anybody, or that they haven't had time to share. They were scared or embarrassed, or didn't want to burden their family, you know, to talk about this, but they really needed to get that off their chest. And you become that confident and that friend that otherwise they may not have, especially elderly people, perhaps also, but this can happen to anybody. You know, we know that loneliness is real, that many people may not have more than one connection. And that is also a pandemic, you know, the loneliness in the world. And so to be able to be present for that patient really embodies what healing is, even though they're coming to get their prostate cancer, you know, taken care of, which is very important. And, you know, that has to be done. But that other part where patients feel listened to, and something that is very important to them, you know, which is quite traumatic to lose your wife, is acknowledged. I think that's healing. And that's what we all need in life, is be heard, you know, valued, and have that connection, you know, whether you're a patient or not. And so I love that you shared that, because it really, again, sort of goes back to, you know, what many of us came to medicine was a human connection, and not just be a, you know, transcriber or prescriber or surgical technician or whatever, you know, even those are important things, you know, the surgical part, but the other part is really important.
Yeah. So I just want to emphasize the way you describe that as being present.
Mhm.
And that is the whole purpose of all of this. And I really believe, you know, part of the theme here is we're talking about burnout. And from the bottom of my heart, I really feel like if we can just each think about ourselves as the medical student who fell in love with the idea of being a doctor. For me, and I think for a lot of us, it was about being fully present with another person who needs our help. So what are the things that make us not present? Thinking about the fact that you have to borrow 3 or 4 minutes from the visit to go document, right? So we put systems in place to help us document faster, or maybe you have a scribe, or maybe it's going to be an AI scribe, or maybe you use Dragon, or whatever your system is. You have to have a system so that you're not mentally being brought out of the moment by thinking about the documenting that you have to do, or that you have to get out of the room because you're running behind, or that you're trying to shoehorn 12 minutes of information into the last 3 minutes of the visit. So I think the next 5 years, as we try and solve this problem, this is how we should be thinking about it. How can we remove all those things so that we can just get to doctoring while we're in the exam room? What happens in the exam room should be stuff that can only happen with those two people sitting across from each other. If it can be done outside of that human interaction, it shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that.
No, it is. It's getting rid of all the stupid stuff and all the things that
Yeah.
really interfere and come, in place in that space where you are supposed to be present and you're supposed to listen and just have that healing presence. So I applaud anybody that is just trying to find solutions. And again, even myself, I don't have all the solutions. I don't know everything. Every time I learn something new, but it's just about trying to chip away a little by little in some way, shape, or form, so that when we each in our own way, in our own system, in our own place, in our own corner, start to come together, start to share our resources so that more people know, so that it can help this person and that person. I think we just get stronger together and we can really rise and help each other. And that's the whole purpose. I don't think anybody's going to come save us. They're going to come say, this is a system that's going to be better for you. We're going to remove this and that because I see you're burned out. Nobody's going to do that.
No.
And it has to come really from ourselves in a way to really change this, to help each other, to find a way so we can be better, so that we can then sort of shine the light for others as well. Because it's sort of like a basket of apples. If one's rotten, it runs all the other apples. So when they're all shiny and bright, they're all delicious and they're all, fantastic. So we want to be all shiny apples in that basket to really affect others around us in a positive way. And it is frustrating. It is real burnout, but I think we all have to find ways and collaborate and elevate. And that's why I'm here, for you and for other physicians. They're doing amazing things. I don't get any money from you. I'm not a sponsor. I'm not this, but the fact that more patients are happy with the experience, the fact that physicians had that connection, even for themselves, that was something healing that they would then share with you. And then you share with me, and that makes me joyful. So that ripple effect of joy just goes on and on and on. So I hope we can all realize there's something we can do. You don't have to start a company, but we could all do something to affect in a positive way. And maybe it's just a kind word, kind gesture, a kind comment, and that's enough for the day. But I think we could all do something.
I love how you phrase that. You asked me in the beginning, how do you have a full-time job, you have a big family, how do you start a company on top of it? It's because what you just said, I knew I enjoyed taking care of patients, but I had no idea how much joy I was going to get from getting messages from doctors saying, this app you made has really helped me and I'm enjoying clinic more. So there's your answer. That's the reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even
Yeah.
like my own story, my burnout, it was very painful, long, with a whole year, physical illness. But the silver lining of starting this, communicating, getting to speak to people like you. I had an earlier podcast with another urologist, actually, Dr. Fro, just connecting with human beings in such a different level. It's just priceless. It's worth every penny. And I'm saying burnout is real and it's very painful, but realizing that there's another side, that you can get through it, that when things feel hopeless, the fact that we reach out, the fact that you talk to anybody, because you felt it, they felt it, everybody's feeling this, and so we're never alone. There's hope and there's a way out of it, and there really is light at the end of the day. So I want people to definitely get excited about your company and you, and reach out to you, and you're huge in Twitter, and you're in the Twitter world. But where can people find you and more about your company? It'll definitely be on all the show notes, and people can definitely join and really continue to grow with you and with your company.
Yeah. So Wellprept is a deliberate misspelling. So it's WELLPREPT.com is the website. That's probably the easiest way to find out more about Wellprept. I'm pretty easy to find on Twitter. As you mentioned, my handle is @CanesDavid, CANES David. Very easy to reach. You feel free to DM me, and my DMs are open. Yeah, so I should be pretty easy to find. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Just I'm happy to talk to anyone, even if it's tangentially related or not related at all.
Yeah, and also you're on YouTube. Do not forget, you have a
All
very
right.
well-watched YouTube channel. So if you're interested in some urological topics, even if you're a primary and you have patients, then you can send them. But now you have Wellprept, so you can send them all curated to Wellprept, and they can get more info there. But definitely, yeah, you live in Twitter, so find him there, or LinkedIn, or obviously YouTube. But yeah, I just want to thank you for being here with your busy schedule and taking time away from your family tonight, because I know bedtime schedules are real. And I just thank you for all that you're doing for our colleagues and for patients.
Thanks, Diana. It's just a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. End the recording.